No, dead. They're all dead.
Mamma mia!
The following views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the producers, hosts, and or guests of the Bitter Marks podcast. We assume no responsibility for any errors or omissions in the content provided.
Listener discretion is advised.
Bitter Marks! Bitter Marks! What's up, smooth babies? Welcome to Bitter Marks! It's your favorite non-wrestling wrestling podcast coming to you every single Friday morning at bittermarks.com in audio or live at 9:05 every Tuesday night. That's PM, that's Central Standard Time. I'm sorry, I'm totally throwing everybody off, I assume, with this weird intro that I'm doing, but there's so many videos, there's so much catching my eye. Whatever. Anyway, if this is your first time joining us, thanks. It doesn't get much better than this. If you want to get a hold of us in any way, feel free to email us, bittermarks@gmail.com. Ask us any questions. Ask us if we are always this unprofessional. And we will respond to you after 2 weeks, proving that, yes, we are always this unprofessional. Anyway, I'm one of your hosts. My name is Sasha, and I am here, joined by my dear friend, the ref, married to Steph. Oh, just came up with that improv skills. It's Peewee.
That's my favorite one. That was a good one.
Hey.
I'll let her know about that one. That's gonna delight her tonight. I always want to ask you about the beginning gifts that I play on the YouTube video. We have discussions about this where I think, in my opinion, it's better for me to show you these before we go live, because otherwise we're just getting your live reaction to them and they do nothing but throw you off.
Yeah.
Versus us losing the live reaction that you give, which isn't much, and showing it to you well in advance.
I often try to ignore them, is what happens.
Okay. All right.
Unfortunately, today, we were kind of like, we forgot to record audio. We're setting this thing up over here. Hattori Hanzo's already in the YouTube chat in crisis because of the Circle K not having Monster Pacific Punch or whatever it's called. So, I mean, there's a whole lot going on. So I just got a little bit flustered up front. Plus, I'm trying to, not keep that same intro. I'm trying to add in this YouTube stuff.
Sure. To make it make sense for the people here. I'm with you. I gotcha. I don't know how much keeping you in the dark to these videos that are playing on YouTube when you introduce me and Tony is benefiting the show.
That's okay.
It sounds like you're not enjoying them at all because you're not seeing them before we go live. I'm hiding them. And then when we go live, you're just ignoring them so you're not distracted while you're talking.
That's about 98% accurate, but I do appreciate them. And when I do look over and I see one and it catches me off guard, I mean, that's what it's all about, you know?
Sure, absolutely.
Let's find out if that's what it's all about. We are joined by the punctual prince of podcasting from parts unknown. It's Producer Tony.
What's up, everybody? And I think you should keep it a mystery, the gifts. I want you to break Sasha like Jimmy Fallon used to break on every sketch he's ever been in SNL.
I agree in theory that I do enjoy the breaking of Sasha. The bad part is that the breaking of Sasha just means that the beginning of this podcast is a bumpy mess.
I like bumpy mess, though.
Yeah, I think it's great. I wouldn't change it.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Certainly a Krabs joke in there. Certainly, is that Raymond Michael Lloyd behind you, Producer Tony?
Yes. I cannot believe it. It took me 117 weeks to finally get a glacier picture in this podcast, but here we are.
Gorgeous.
What's your opinion?
Did he come out with football shoulder pads on?
It looks like it.
Probably.
At least a left one.
Right.
It was only over one shoulder. Right. I never noticed that before. Okay.
He had a bunch of weird shit. Like everything was like spray painted, like silver or blue.
What's your opinion on Glacier, or what was your opinion on Glacier back in 1999, Producer Tony?
Well, they hyped the fuck out of him. Like so many like teasers,
weeks and weeks. You're right. Yeah.
Vignettes, and then he showed up, and he was so bad. It's such a bad gimmick that I love it so much. Like,
I saw a GIF yesterday, or a GIF, or peanut butter, or whatever, of him like doing this spinning heel kick to Goldberg, who takes the kick, bounces off the ropes, and just spears the shit out of
Spears
Glacier.
the bag. I like that. I like that.
That could be the gift for next week for me.
Glacier is one of those guys. Like Stevie Ray falls into this. I don't know if it was done on purpose, but I the more I think about it, the more I think it was. I believe WCW would give finishes to their job guys, not job guys, but undercard, middle card guys that match the finishers of the main event guys on WWE TV. Stevie Ray used the rock bottom, and no. Stevie Ray used the pedigree. Glacier used the super kick. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm almost positive this was done on purpose and a slight attempt to slight the finishes that are being done on main event TV on WWE.
And we will say allegedly, of course. We're not throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
And if you know me, like I think wrestling is best when everybody has gimmicks, and you got to celebrate the gimmicks, even the bad ones. So we celebrate Glacier.
Absolutely. And we don't want to hear from the lawyers of Stevie Ray as well. So, Peewee, you've been...
What is Stevie... Hold on. What's his lawyer going to be mad about? That I said his finish is the rock bottom and not the pedigree?
Yeah. I don't want to hear Sunday morning I wake up to that. Peewee, you've been throwing it down, I would say, the past 2 to 3 months in the world of podcasting. I'm not even talking about the 16 podcasts that you host. I'm talking about you're going on this worldwide tour, including the past 2 weeks. I think you were on, is it called Turnbuckle Tavern podcast?
Honestly, I'm not sure of what the exact name is. I believe it's under... It's whatever group of podcasts the Chick Foley show is under. They have an umbrella of shows, and it falls under there. I was on a couple of their shows. The first one was, I think it's just called Turnbuckle Tavern. That was just like a behind the scenes, let's talk to a ref from the indie scene. Let's get to know him. Let's hear his story. And that was from a couple weeks ago. You can definitely go back and listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and wherever else you get your podcasts. You can listen to me on the Turnbuckle Debate or the Turnbuckle Tavern. The one I did this Monday that just released on Monday was this one, the Turnbuckle Debate. This show I really enjoyed. It's a spin-off of the Turnbuckle Tavern. This is a show hosted by 3 guys, and they bring on a guest. This week was me, Mark Bitters, and it had nothing to do with me reffing. They just wanted somebody who had opinions. And so all 4 of us brought a different topic to the table, and we debated those topics. So you can see the topics that we had here was, which do you prefer, or which was more important, Hollywood Hogan versus Hulkamania Hogan? Should AEW and WWE have intergender wrestling? That was my question. What can WWE do to bring back its lapsed fans? We went back and forth on this. We didn't necessarily agree on much of this, but I thought it was a decent listen. Each of those podcasts are about 50 minutes. I think it's worth checking out. Sasha, did you listen to any of this?
Yeah, I listened to both of them because I ain't got shit to do.
Wow. Okay.
So I listened to the other one last week or whenever it was. This one in specifically, I think you had texted me and they tagged us on Instagram at the same time. And so I was like, okay, I'll get to it. But then you were like, hey, listen to this. So then I had to rush through the Jeff Jarrett podcast.
1.5 times speed.
I like it. I like both of them. I like the guy on the other show because the other show was just you and one other guy, right?
Right.
And then this was I think 4 of you guys.
Total, correct, yeah.
But it was cool. It was I really like the idea of it. Here's 3 questions basically. Everybody brings a question and then you guys discuss it. And of course,
it was much better than our typical wrestling podcasts that are out there, where everybody just dissects Raw, dissects SmackDown, dissects AEW, and tells them how Vince should not be doing what he's currently doing, but should change his opinion to whatever the hosts are thinking. I liked it. I liked their format. I liked what they brought to the table.
And you definitely upheld the Bitter Mark's name. I saw some people commenting like Mark Bitter's bringing it. I assume you weren't.
Awesome! I didn't see that.
Yeah, you weren't bringing positivity. You were bringing,
a lot of yelling. There was a lot
Yeah.
more of the like old school Peewee on that show compared to the amount of bitterness that we get on here. And that's why I think I liked it. I really did enjoy the Turnbuckle Debate episode. So if you have a chance, definitely check that out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and whatever.
All right.
And then also this weekend on Saturday, me and Dave Wheeler are doing our monthly Turtle Talk, which has nothing to do with wrestling. It's just talking about Ninja Turtles and action figures and blah, blah, blah. If that kind of stuff interests you, check out the Dave Wheeler on Instagram and YouTube. And it's going to be a live stream. There's no recording of it. There's no afterplay or anything. It's just if you want to watch it Saturday night, you can check out his Instagram page for more information, and you can see me and Dave there.
Yeah, and a bunch of these guys have started following the Bittermarks Instagram page, and I want to say some of the
awesome.
the listeners of these podcasts have also started following.
I'm doing something good. Okay, that's
yeah.
good.
I mean, we're almost at 100 followers on Instagram. It only took 75 years or however long we've been doing this, but ever since you started doing these podcasts, more and more people have been following us, which is really cool.
I also want to clarify that with the stuff with Dave Wheeler, with the Turnbuckle Debate, with the with Mark Sterling's podcast, the Silver Linings, when I did that one, all these podcasts reached out to me to do them. I'm not out there begging to be on podcasts. I enjoy doing them, but as somebody, you guys know this. If there was one thing that we knew at the beginning of this podcast, the beginning of the Bitter Marks, was that I had zero interest in doing this show, and I still have zero interest in doing this show.
I saw you on the street with a cardboard sign that said, "Will podcast for money."
Will
pod
for
video games,
for video games.
Well, here's the thing. Look, we're getting a lot of people following us, and I'd love to follow these guys back because, like they're supporting us. I would like to support them. I do enjoy the podcast that I've listened to, except I don't know, like, who, like, if the Turnbuckle podcast follows me, I can follow it back. But if it's like a guy named Don Jeremy, I'm like, oh, well, is this somebody from the podcast? Is this a random person? So then I don't know whether to follow them. So,
yeah, I'm with you.
If I am not following somebody and it's a problem, you just slide into the DM. Just let me know. I will gladly follow you guys. I really appreciate you having Peewee on because then it keeps me from starting another podcast with Peewee. So, Producer Tony, though, you got to answer the question though. Real American Hulk Hogan or NWO Hulk Hogan? What was the actual question? Like more important to wrestling? Or?
Yeah, it wasn't what do you prefer? It was who had the bigger
impact. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Biggest impact in wrestling, or yeah, I mean we went all over the place with this. I could briefly summarize my thoughts first, or after you guys tell me your thoughts. But I definitely want to know what you guys think, whether it is what you prefer or what had the bigger impact on you.
Well. I'm gonna go Hulkamania because at the time, wrestling was still like regional or territorial or whatever you want to say, and if the WWF doesn't get as big as it did in the '80s, mainly because of guys like Hulk Hogan, I don't think wrestling is what it is today. It might have went back to the territory days, or it might have split up again or something like that. So. Who knows what would have happened? So I'm gonna go with Hulkamania, even though, the Hollywood days are so good.
Yeah, heyday, right?
It is an unanswerable question, obviously. But the way that you guys spoke about it is like exactly how I feel about it. Like one guy would say something like, "Without Hulkamania, there is no Hollywood Hogan," and I would go, "Yeah, that's exactly right." And then the next person would say, "Yeah, but Hulkamania brought back all those fans that left
Hollywood
originally." Hollywood turning heel was like the biggest moment to bring wrestling back. And so it's like the same guy did the same thing at different times. Once as a face.
Once was a baby. So once was a baby, once was a heel. Unbelievable. My argument was I sided with Hollywood. And I said, in short, Hollywood was a once-in-a-lifetime, lightning-in-a-bottle instance, and it had to be Hulk Hogan. If it was Sting, if it was Luger, if it was anybody else that was Hollywood Hogan, that was that character, the third man, the NWO does not have the impact that it does, and wrestling does not shoot up as far as it did in 1996. You cannot say that about Hulkamania. Yes, the Hulkamania was awesome because it was led by Hulk Hogan, but you're telling me that one 6'6" tan balding blonde guy is the guy? He's the only one that can pull this off? I'm not saying there's not something special about Hogan, but I don't think that's lightning in the bottle. I think that could have been, his shoes could have been filled by different people in that role, but not if you're Hollywood.
That's the thing, though. It's like, who would have been next in line in 1983 or whatever to take that spot? Is Tito Santana running, like Titomania is running wild?
Santanamania, baby. Woo.
I mean, now granted it was later, but the eventually Warrior, I think, sparks the wrestling interest across the nation. But are they ready for it if we don't have Hulkamania? It's a whole, I mean, you go down a whole string of things if you remove Hulkamania and you trying to imagine what would happen down a different path. So it's hard to talk about.
And Hattori Hanzo in the RC Cola Presents YouTube chat, he says that Hollywood more important to WCW than wrestling in general, which I get that Hulkamania was, I mean, beyond wrestling. Like, Hulkamania was a worldwide trend, a fad.
Phenomenon.
Yeah, well, however you want to say it. But I think Hollywood was more than just WCW, because that brought back the point where there were, I mean, it was the highest ratings of all time. And yeah, sure, Stone Cold Steve Austin had stuff to do with that. I mean, the war had something to do with that, but all of that included and probably started because of Hollywood Hogan, because of the
I
heel
still
turn.
think we have wrestling the way it is right now. I still think we're like still living off of the trail of Hollywood Hogan.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's one story, basically. It's still one guy's like entire story. But I see more NWO shirts than I do Hulkamania shirts. And not that that means anything, but I'm just saying, like, it was still important as a like worldwide thing. So I don't know. I thought it was a great question and excellent podcast.
There you go. Check it out, guys.
Speaking of not so excellent, Peewee, God damn it. What are you doing on our Twitter here? What the hell is Tazzz vibes to music?
Oh, this was great.
What?
Did you see this, Tony? This is the new Mongo Twitter page.
No.
This is the new.
No.
You don't like this?
No.
Like the Rick Rude taking atomic drops?
Yes. Right.
No. I disagree.
So there's a video out there of Tazzz just sitting in his car and just like a steering wheel in one hand, head back, and just bobbing his head to some music. And so what's the name of the Twitter page?
I don't know. This is your thing. It's not my thing. I hate Tazzz. I hate Tazzz. I don't know.
It's like the Tazzz vibes to music. And what they've done is they've muted the Tazzz audio on the original video, and they just replace it with anything that you request.
Okay.
The guy started his YouTube page, or his Twitter page on the 23rd. By the 25th, he had 5,000 followers. Because he's tweeting out every 15 minutes a different song of Tazzz just jamming out in his front seat.
All right, so what did you request?
I requested Thunder Kiss 65.
Oh,
by,
White Zombie?
Yeah, White Zombie.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I'm not a White Zombie fan. I'm a Pitbulls fan from ECW, and that was their theme, best theme in wrestling. And it took him, I mean, literally at 5 hours from me tweeting, and he got to it and then tagged us in it, and it got like 80 likes, and it's been our one of our most engaging comments or things on Twitter that we've had in a long time.
See, if I saw that tweet, I would have think it would be Sasha that would have tweeted that, because he's a long time Rob Zombie, White Zombie fan.
I thought you were going to say Tazzz fan.
I did appreciate the request. I just did not care for the page itself.
He's still going strong.
No,
that was last week.
He was never going strong.
He's still tweeting every 15 minutes a new song. I don't know what this guy does for a living, but he's doing something right.
Let's talk some figures very, very quickly, I guess. So we brought up those heels and faces figures, the Sabu, the Earl Hebner, the Dino Bravo without the gunshot wound. So they've been doing the pre-sale for that, and it actually ends, I believe, tonight at midnight is the last time that you can order these things.
Okay.
And the last tweet or Instagram post that I read basically said that there was only 200 Sabu figures left.
Oh, really?
And that
Oh,
was
no.
the only thing that I had heard about any of them. So, and I would guess the Sabu would be the most sought after. So to me, I don't think that they're going to reach that 2,500 number. Of course, allegedly. Oh, God damn it! I'm gonna throw that word out there again. I'm just saying.
Just need an allegedly T-shirt.
Yeah, good call. Get on that, King of Art. But so that's the thing. Like they're probably not going to hit the 2,500. They never said sold out. Like I assumed there would have been a sold out. Like you missed out.
Yeah, they would have made a big deal about it. I agree.
But the one cool thing was that he did announce that he signed one person this week for the next series. And that one person is One Man Gang.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I like that. And he had a video with One Man Gang, like with the signing and stuff like that. Zombie Sailor continues to do good stuff so far. I don't know what the figures are going to look like. I ended up not ordering the Sabu figure. I don't know.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
You get to that point and you're like about to order it and you're like, am I really going to spend $100 on this right now? Like, because I was going to order 2 of them.
All right, the next time I see Ivica, I want him to dress as the One Man Gang figure.
Well, we haven't seen him in a while. Maybe he already grew out the facial hair
And the mullet, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I heard he went to Alaska. Is that where One Man Gang is from? Like
that's where mullets come from, I'm pretty sure. So
I'm just saying things might have happened. What do you think about this, Peewee? Do you like this?
Yeah, I don't know if One Man Gang's going to be in the next series. I think Zombie's doing it right, assuming that he can keep up with this. The amount of people that he has signed versus the amount of like figures that I believe he's releasing like 5 in a series at a time. And
he signed Jeff Jarrett too, right?
That's what I'm saying. He signed a lot of guys. There's a bunch of guys. Sasha's back in.
I'm all in.
Yeah, Jarrett's in there. I gotta say that there's a list of other guys that have also, like, I know that Mark Sterling is in at least series 2. There's a Hornswoggle one coming. There's a bunch that are coming. I don't know that One Man Gang is going to be in the next series, but it's eventually going to come.
How long until we get a BJT figure?
Oof.
Oh, we need to tweet that out.
Does he have a suggestion box that we could just dump that in there?
I got some BJT news, but we'll wait a couple minutes on that one.
I got an update on Tazzz vibes to songs. 4 minutes ago, he tweeted out the Tazzz GIF, and the music playing in the background was the pause music to the video game Wario World.
Ah,
good stuff. Check that out.
Lost me even more. Tori Hanzo says, save that money for the Piper and JYD. They actually announced 2 new Legends figures in the WWE Mattel line, Series 12 or something like that. There's a Piper, and the Junkyard Dog looks awesome with the chain.
The Piper looks good too.
Yeah, it does. I sent them to Hanzo yesterday. I was like,
"Oh, nice.
Yeah, save your checkup because."
Yeah, we don't need to talk too much about it. But the other releases the other announcements in that reveal were a
big
2000. Yeah, I was gonna say a 1996 like NWO with the headband and or whatever you call it, like the bandana wrapped around his head.
I'm in.
The like maybe it was red and black. Or no, it was Outsider Kevin Nash.
Wolfpack or Outsiders or Wolfpack?
It was Outsider. He comes with a fabric Outsider shirt. And then more interestingly, a DX Army Billy Gunn.
Oh yeah, that was.
Did you see that?
Wasn't it the one where he was like dressed as a bush or something?
Yes, he has like 3 bushes attached to his helmet. He looks ridiculous. But I don't understand how they can make this. I don't understand how Billy Gunn's contract works. He's a contracted, currently wrestling on air talent with AEW.
Who knows? Who knows the ins and outs? Most importantly, out of all the figure talk that we've had this week, I found out with all these announcements they were announcing, 2 more Otis figures. Oh, yeah. And I found an Otis Funko Pop, which I did not know existed. Look at all this.
Oh, yes.
Amazing. Otis.
All of these are out of date. None of these have come out yet, and they're all dated.
Well, yeah, because he shaved his beard 2 weeks ago, so he's.
He also has different gear, doesn't he?
Yeah, because he's with Chad Gable now, and they're doing something that's pretty awful, and they don't let Otis be the cool Otis that we all love.
I can't believe he's not wearing the belly shirt anymore, right?
I don't think so.
What a ridiculous decision that is to take that off.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and he used to do like the worm. Like he can't do the worm.
Oh, he doesn't do that anymore? Oh man.
I'm not gonna say he doesn't
Otis is a
because I
heel?
haven't seen him, but yeah, it's awful. And they made him shave. He looks like all my uncles. It's pretty.
This is why nobody watches wrestling anymore.
What is going on in the figure on the right-hand side? Like everything, and I have questions about everything. I don't understand what this green box is.
Is that the
It's
money
like
in the bank?
pose that they have them in. The pose that he has is like, "Hey kids, come here."
It's his like work pail, like bring a lunch
Does he
in a
bring
pail.
that to the ring?
Yeah, you used to. I mean, back in the day. And then the
Wait.
one in the middle is obviously Money in the Bank when he had that for a week until they screwed him over.
Are there sandwiches in that lunch pail?
Potentially. I don't
He
know.
stole my gimmick from 1998. That was my thing. God damn it.
Vince got a hold of some DCWA tapes. And
Yeah, that match with Santino.
But Otis now has at least 4 figures with these coming out. How crazy is that? Like,
Good for him. That's awesome. They if you do look at that plus the other reveals that they made, like they are making a lot of figures for guys you wouldn't think they would make figures. Like half the guys that they announced figures for, I don't know who they are because they're either NXT guys or guys that have debuted on Raw and SmackDown in the past like 2 months when I haven't been watching. Which is great. I feel like they're on top of things and they're trying to be timely and not really. Well, I mean, this Otis is not an example of what I'm talking about, but for the most part, they're trying to stay on top of stuff. And I should say for the most part, I also saw that they released the picture of the Chelsea Green figure that's coming out. She got released about a month and a half ago. And there were a couple other guys too that got released that got figures too. It's a tricky process because of the amount of time it takes to make a figure and to release it and to get it out on shelves.
Well,
so I get that, and they can't be perfect, but it's still just weird.
And COVID
Sure.
too. Yeah.
and
yeah.
another week has gone by and they've released another 27 people or whatever it is.
Right.
Did you hear about this? They released Fandango, Tyler Breeze, Killian Dane, Everrise, who's actually been on NXT television every week for the past however many weeks.
Jeez.
Bollywood Boys, Tony Nese, who's very good. Arturo Ruas, who I don't know who that is. Kurt Stallion, who was in AAW in Chicago. Like, he was always here. I mean, he's a Texas guy, but he wrestled here for a long time. They just signed him in October. He's released.
Really?
Yeah, like all these people. And he was on 205. He was on NXT. They were pushing him, and then they just took him off. We're not going to talk about this. Who cares? None of these people are valuable. I mean, I don't want to say that. They're obviously valuable as people, but they haven't been used by the WWE in, a long time. And whatever is going on in the WWE, whether they're selling, whether they're just going nuts and trying to change everything, I don't know. You have anything to say about this stuff, Peewee?
No, I agree. We don't know what's going on. I don't want to comment on it because we don't know. I think it's just guessing. If you want those assumptions and guesses, guys, tune into one of the other 1,000 podcasts out there.
Yeah, and all these people are going to be going all over the place and
Yeah, I think there's plenty of opportunities out there for them. I don't think it's...
Yep.
Yes, it sucks that they lose the reliability and the stability of having a consistent job with WWE, but there's so many opportunities out there. If they are willing to put in the work, I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Yeah, and none of these guys are a question mark. Like when we saw Samoa Joe and you're like, why? Why would you release Samoa Joe? None of these guys are that. Tyler Breeze, Fandango, okay, they've been there 14 years, but, I mean, they have not done much with them. So, interesting thing this week, Matt Riddle. I said Matt Riddle because they're calling him Matt Riddle again.
Really?
So apparently they do not care.
This company, man. This company goes back and forth so much.
And if you remember, we believed that they changed it to Riddle because they didn't want people looking up Matt Riddle and seeing his history. And now they're like, let's show the history. Whatever. Nothing to say here. There's nothing to say. It's just, here's news, I guess, from this week. Matt Riddle is entertaining to me only because I like him. I hear a lot of people complain about how they are using him. Who cares? Peewee, we got to know. Did you get the Jimmy Del Rey story? Are we doing 20 minutes on Jimmy Del Rey this week?
So I've been busy all day today, right? So this morning is when I got everything loaded up into this program to get all these graphics ready, and we were good to go. Usually that's something I do 5 minutes before we fired this up. I knew I had a busy day. And so I wanted to be very much prepared as much as I could, as early as I could, so I could have the rest of the day to take care of, home life stuff. But I didn't open up my notes from last week until we did just fire up the podcast. And in my notes, it says, make sure to find Jimmy Del Rey stories.
All right, well, I'm going to do this then. Until you get us this Jimmy Del Rey story, I'm going to give you a fact a week on Jimmy Del Rey.
Awesome.
All right.
because I've been doing some Jimmy Del Rey homework. I didn't realize he was in the Heavenly Bodies. Is that?
That sounds right. Yeah.
That is the tag team that he was in. And I started watching some video on this, and I cannot wait to show video of this man. I have
telling you, right?
I've read some scandalous stuff. I mean, scandalous is putting it too lightly on this man. I've heard some bad stuff about Jimmy Del Rey, but this week I'm going to tell you a little bit here. This is from Rob Van Dam in an interview with Rob Van Dam. This was before Rob Van Dam never smoked weed before, right? In 1991, and this is him speaking. He goes, "It was actually 1991. I had a wrestling show in Jamaica. All the boys were so excited because the ganja was plentiful. I didn't smoke it. I didn't want to, but we were all at a cabana, and the boys were just passing a joint around. And I remember Jimmy Del Rey saying, 'Here.' I was like, 'Oh, no, thank you.' He's like, 'Hit it, you prima donna. It's not going to kill you.' I was like, 'Oh, okay.' I remember hitting it one time. Did not enjoy it. I remember staring at the wall and feeling more paranoid. They're going to say I'm stoned now. Why am I looking at the wall? That was my first experience with weed. I was noticing these athletes that I look up to that are in great shape. A lot of them smoke weed. That made me think that maybe I should look into it. That opened up a whole new universe. So, Jimmy Del Rey is responsible for the career of Rob Van Dam. That's all I'm saying.
That is amazing. That's a great factoid.
And check back next week for either a large story on Jimmy Del Rey or maybe
what a gift.
Yes.
What a gift.
Oh, I lost it.
There is like
Please get it back. Please get it back. Yes.
There is like a 2-minute video on YouTube of him doing that, like in all different places.
This is what this man did. Look at this gloriousness. Oh.
Okay.
Who's on the mat there? Is that a Steiner? Who is that?
It looks like Scott Steiner right there.
Yeah.
Can't tell if that is.
Could be Crush. Could be.
Yeah. Who knows? Anyway, moving on. Big shout out to my guy _PowerDad 5000. If you guys remember, this is the creator of Megamix 7, which featured the great.
Oh, this is more VHS.
The great RoboCop Sting in the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah, look at that. That is good stuff.
He just released Megamix 8 and only made 43 copies of it. Sold out. And ended up making $420 for the Trevor Project, which is like a thing that does suicide prevention for the LGBTQ youth community. I hope I said that all right. I am an ignorant man. But I got it, baby. We got Megamix 8.
Yes. What's on the cover?
He got like custom artwork from one of his buddies, I think. You will be happy to know Diesel on the back.
Oh, there you go.
Big
awesome.
Sexy. That's selling all kinds of copies right there.
How much? You said he only made $420 selling 43 of these?
Yeah, I think it was like $10 plus. I don't know.
Please have this man listen to the Flips and Bumps podcast. He is underselling his product way, way, way too low.
He is, but that's why I like him. He's. It's not about the business. Clearly,
I know, but it's for a good cause.
True, but I like being able to not pay much to get these.
All right. We don't want to root it for you.
Don't root it for Sasha. Forget about the charity. Let's keep it at a low cost for Sasha.
I'm giving to the charity on a monthly basis or whenever he puts these out. I still haven't watched from my guy Be Kind Rewind 515 just for tracking 4. I mean, I'm up to my head.
That's a different guy? That's a different... You have multiple VHS guys?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So anyway, shout out to Sal. He's a good dude. All right, gentlemen. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, we do.
I sent you guys a message, and I asked you, please don't share this.
Don't show it to anybody. Yes.
And so then, this was your only idea for today's podcast was to share this thing that I said let's not share it. So
absolutely,
guys, I did my first ever stand-up open mic.
Yes. Look at this.
Yes.
Look at this.
We did it.
If you're not on the YouTube page, jump to the YouTube page and check out this picture. This is a picture of Sasha on stage doing stand-up. I believe you're about to fight a man.
Yeah. Can we zoom in on his face? Because
I cannot.
it is amazing. You look so angry.
Oddly enough, extremely happy at this moment in time. But yeah, they took a picture, and I'd like to say that they just caught me looking angry, but I always look angry. So I think this is just a normal situation. But shout out CG's Comedy Club in Bolingbrook, who takes pictures of all their open micers. And
so Tony and I had no idea this was happening, right? No, did anyone know? Did Megan know?
Yeah.
I have so many questions about this whole thing. Justin Tuttle in the chat just went nuts to see your stand-up.
the CU comedy is popping huge for this.
Right.
I don't know if he wants me to stand up currently or if he's like popping for stand-up.
Okay, so Megan knew about this, but nobody else knew?
I mean, who am I gonna tell?
I don't know. Perhaps you could have told Tony and I, but that obviously wasn't on the table. All right. In short, how did it go?
All right. Well, it's a long story, so there's no short.
I'm sit back and relax. Tony.
We have
Let's
nothing but time, Peewee.
Let's see what happened here.
Oh, okay.
I was in such shock to get this. You have come so far in your stand-up stuff in the past couple months, going from doing like online stuff to just even before that, just writing forever, and now out of nowhere, you show up at a comedy club and start doing a set.
Well, you have to start doing it at some point. Like I've done everything except stand-up comedy, like the rest of it. I mean, with reason. Obviously, there was COVID and there was nowhere to do stuff. I guess that's an excuse. I could have invited people to my basement. I could have, I don't know, like whatever. You know what I mean? Like I could have figured something out. But really, nobody was doing any sort of stand-up since last March. You guys know a couple years ago I sold my video game system in an effort to like do stuff like this that was more, I don't know,
to get more motivated and less distracted. Yeah.
Sure. To do something else, to do something different with my time. And so then I started writing and I started doing this stuff. And then COVID hits, which right around COVID was a time when I was like going to go do an open mic. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, because like what I thought was writing was not really writing. Like it was not enough writing, but it would have been, whatever. It would have been something. I would have gone to it because there's a place that's like down the street from my house that used to do Sunday night open mics. And I used to always be like, I'm going. No, let me get my 5 minutes. No, let me get ready. I got to get ready. You guys know me well. I'm not the, let's just jump into it person. I am the, let's get as prepared as possible person.
And then still put it off for 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And so when COVID hit, I was like, "Oh no!" and then I joined this writing group, and through that writing group is when I started doing Zoom stuff and Zoom shows and Zoom open mics and talking to people all over the U.S., all over the world, really, but a lot in the U.S. And it was good. And I've done a lot of like reading and all that stuff, and the writing took like just a whole nother level, like a complete different level. Before I used to just write stuff that I thought was funny in my phone, and that would be it. And I would just like keep it, and I'd be like, yeah, one day I'll talk about that. Then it turned into like 2 to 4 hours of writing every day. Then it turned into strictly 4 hours a day of writing. And it was way like too much. And then I realized like I've just been writing for a year. You can't test anything if you're just writing. Like you have to...
Hold on, back up. How long were you writing for 4 hours a day?
I mean, for 9 months it was very strong. Like close to 4 hours a day. Yeah.
Please tell me you have like
months.
Yellow pads of notes.
Dude, I have
all on your phone.
This is like half of the books that I have.
Oh my god.
The other half is downstairs. I showed Putski a lot of the stuff. Downstairs is like more empty, but this is like stuff full of stuff.
Wow.
So look, I have a lot of stuff written, but it's a lot of trash and it's a lot of like jokey jokes and I don't know what works and what doesn't, because you have to like say stuff in front of people. You can't just like have it in a book and be like, yep, there it is. Stand-up comedy.
That's a good joke right there. Yeah.
And so I have all this stuff, and obviously now got the vaccine. Everything's been opening back up. And now is the time to do it. If I didn't do it now, it was never going to happen. And I was waiting for a specific mic that I wanted to do, And I found out that they opened June 15th, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm going June 15th, right before my birthday. Let's do this. And then I pushed out. I didn't go June 15th. And I was
you didn't even try. You just totally bailed?
I was like, you know what? I'm just not ready. Give me one more week, because I did that Sasha thing, you know?
That's a dangerous game to play, because you're always going to say, give me one more week, give me one more week. Okay.
So I waited the following week, and the following week, I was like, this is the week. If I don't do it this week, I'm quitting this. And
wow, it's 2 years down the drain.
Yeah.
Well, I had to do something to push myself to actually do it. So on Wednesday, the 22nd, I actually went to that open mic, and I was like, I'm just going to watch to see what these people do to make sure that I can do this.
And you want to know in my head, I would want to know the routine and how it just works, how they call people up, and how the order works, and how all the logistics of it. That makes sense.
And so I went there, and I was like, if by some chance they're like, no, go up, or I talk to somebody and he says, oh, we have a new guy, or I would have gone up that night.
Wow.
But I was like, I'm gonna play it safe today, whatever. I sat back and I watched, and there was a lot of good people, and there were a couple people who made me feel better about myself. I'm not saying they were bad, but I know I'm not good at this.
Not polished. Just say that they weren't polished as others, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, some people were better than others, but I was like, yeah, I could do this. If these people are doing this, I can do this for sure. Whatever. So then that's
awesome. Okay.
So the next day comes, and there's a Thursday night in Bolingbrook open mic, and you have to email by 11 a.m. Not by 11. It starts at 11 a.m. You have to email, and you have until 1 o'clock or whatever. And at 11 a.m., I had the email written on my phone. I was actually driving. I was working, but I had it written on my phone. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then I waited until 11:20, 11:25, whatever it was. And that's just how my brain works.
For no reason? Your brain is just putting it off?
Yeah. And it's kind of
oh, that's a cop-out. Yeah,
yeah, exactly what it is. That way, if I hit send at 11:20 and they're full, I'm like, oh, well, I tried.
Well, I tried. Yeah,
you're giving yourself an
addict in you.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and then they responded 30 seconds later, and they're like, you're on tonight. And I was like, okay. All right, that's it. So that was step one. Then step two was I had to finish my work day. I was prepared, even from I think I was prepared the week before, even though I say I wasn't. But I was even way more prepared this following week to do the stuff that I wanted to do. And then I got to the place a little bit early. They opened at 7 o'clock. The show was going to start at 7:30. I waited till 7:15, and the entire time I was like, I could still leave. I could still get out of here.
Sure.
And I kept telling myself, if I do, this is it. I'm not going to do it after this. I will just be miserable and bored and have nothing to do, which is what I really think. My wife is either lucky that I'm doing this or lucky that I'm not. What am I trying to say? I'm doing this, and it's been making me happy. If I wasn't doing this, I would be home, and she'd be happy that I'm home, instead of being out. But I would be miserable, and she would know, I am a grumpy person when I am miserable. Like I was today. I've been grumpy all day. But so anyway, 7:15 rolls around, and I actually went in, and and they're like, you're 17th out of 22. I was like, okay, all right. So I sat
packed
through.
House? How packed was the house?
It was 30 people. So I mean, it's mostly comedians. Some people brought a couple people. People who worked there were there and stuff like that. It's mostly comedians because it's not a show. It's like camp.
It's just an open mic.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's just people going up and trying stuff. Except when these people started going up, everyone, in my opinion, was really funny, killing it. And I was like, God damn it, I should have went up yesterday. And then
now, here's a question. You said that there was 30 people there, and 22 of them are performers, right? Yeah. You're not in the backstage with 22 guys and there's 30 people in front.
No.
You are in the audience when you're waiting your turn, correct?
Yeah, you show up, and then they kind of assign seating because they based on,
I like that.
Yeah, based on where you are in the lineup, they have kind of a set way so that you can kind of see when it's coming up to your turn. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like
it puts
orderly.
some responsibility on you. I do
Yeah.
like that. They're kind of facilitating a good environment for people getting over the anxiety. That makes sense. But answer this: are people going home when you're 17th out of 22? Is there 5 people in the crowd when you get up there?
I was expecting
Because everybody else had gone home.
I was expecting that, but most everybody stayed. I know a couple people did leave.
Oh, awesome!
For sure, because I saw them. They showed up to. There's also a mic in Aurora on the same day, and so like I saw pictures of them like there as well, which they would have had to leave to go.
Oh, interesting. There. Okay.
But most of the people stayed, and the last guy who went up was half Serbian, half Italian.
Oh wow.
He was very good too. He was like 24 years old, but he was really, really good. And he was like thanking everybody for like that they stayed, because I mean there's still a lot of people there. I would say like 90% of the people were still there. So
wow.
It was like, I don't know, it was good. It was, you know, whatever it was. So it comes up to my turn, and I go up there, and I wasn't really nervous because I kind of knew like my stuff, but you see that stool in the picture if you're watching on the YouTube thing. So I brought a little, like some notes with me. Everybody kind of had like notebooks and stuff like that. I had a note up there. I didn't use it. I was not prepared for
It's just 2 words. It says "be funny."
Or fight that man in the crowd. I think that's what that note says.
But yeah, so like, I mean, once you get a laugh, everything kind of like went away, like any sort of fear or whatever.
Oh,
I was
awesome.
actually more nervous the second that I got off the stage. Like my hand was shaking. It was weird.
Wow.
I was kind of like, but it was over. Like I was done. But the best part about it was afterwards, like a bunch of people came up and were like, that wasn't your first time, right? Because I had mentioned it on the thing.
Oh, so they just thought it was part of your act?
They thought
like,
you
every
were
time
working
you were up
them?
there?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it is going to be part of my act next week, because that was like the biggest applause I got.
That was going to be my question. Are you going back, or are we just checking the box here and saying we're done with stand-up for now? Let's move on to the next thing.
No,
Let's start juggling.
it was excellent. And so I got off the stage. A bunch of people came up. None of them believed that it was my first time. And then when I was leaving, I was getting out of there, I was like, I gotta go home. And then one of the guys was like, hey, a bunch of us are going next door to get some drinks and to get some food. You should come with us. And I was like, no.
That would be a mistake.
But I did. I went over there, and so then I hung out with like a bunch of dudes. Some like one of the guys I've seen open for people at Zany's before, so that was kind of cool. It's like people of all different, like expertise and stuff like that. So it was just cool talking to a bunch of people, and whatever. It is what it is. I did it, and they're all telling me like where to go now, like where are the places that I should be going and where I should be avoiding.
What happens when one of these open mics that you really want to do falls on a Tuesday night live at 9:05?
I mean, I'm probably going to do this podcast. There's enough podcasts.
Live on stage?
There's enough open mics to like every day of the week in the suburbs out here. So.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
So did you open with your best material, or did you close with your best material?
Oh, when do we start a podcast on stand-up comedy theory?
Yeah, we'll move on. I opened by acknowledging that I look like Eddie Munster, and in a, I don't know, not so sly way, but it popped the people, and
Nice.
Whatever I don't want to talk about this. I'm very
No, I would just like to say I hope to come see you do it someday. I'm super proud that you got the courage to do that. That's got to be a frightening thing. I don't know if I could do it, and you're certainly over prepared for it. But like, you can plan to build the house all you want, but until you swing a hammer, it's not really built. So, good job. Getting out there and
the courage that you showed in doing this. When we got the picture, it blew my mind.
Yeah, me too.
You've been talking about this forever, and it's you. I thought you obviously have the skill to do it, but I didn't think you had the mindset to get up there and actually do it. So when you did, I was like, I was blown away. I'm very, very proud of you. Way to go.
I took a bunch of Ico Pro before I went up there, so I was like feeling really, really good. Do you guys have any other questions before we can move on from this?
We'll talk about it.
I have several, but we'll feather them in future podcasts.
All right, sounds good. Do you guys want to do some random quick tidbits, or do you guys want to talk about documentary TV stuff that has been on TV the past couple of weeks?
I don't care.
Producer Tony?
Because
Well, the only documentary is the China one that we didn't talk about, right? Is that the only one?
I mean, there's 3 in my book. Only one that you've seen.
I want to know what you... All right, what are you talking about?
Okay, so let's just do all of them. This is going to be a long podcast. Random
Sure.
quick tidbits from this week. I came up with an idea. Producer Tony, have you ever heard of the show Chicago PD?
Okay.
Yes.
What do you think about doing a YouTube-only television show called Chicago Peewee? And what we do is, it's based on, like, Peewee will be the cop, and a bunch of the criminals will be people who are like, I love Joey Janela, and then Peewee has to set the record straight for the good guys, being the old people who love professional wrestling.
I think this is a great idea. We got to get Peewee a fake mustache,
Oh, yeah.
and then I think this is a hit.
Chicago Peewee needs to happen in some sort of way. Another thing that happened, I was watching Raw from 1993, HBK interview. He's Intercontinental Champion. Vince is interviewing him in the ring. And the crowd starts chanting, Sean is gay. Sean is gay.
Fantastic.
Not only that, but the camera then zooms in on all the people in the crowd chanting, Sean is gay. Sean is
Jesus.
gay. This is 27 years ago, 28 years,
man.
whatever it was. And I am like, oh my God, this is unbelievable that, like, that it's still on Peacock. Didn't they go through this stuff?
Yeah, I was
to
gonna
try
say.
and-
Yeah, that's the most unbelievable
flag
thing.
it?
You're
Yeah.
right. That's
The second most unbelievable thing is Shawn Michaels, not so good at this time on the mic. He goes to Vince, he goes, you know Mr. Grover, the guy who lives in the trash on Sesame Street?
oh boy. Oh boy.
Mr. Grover. And Vince looked at him like, absolutely not. I have no clue what you're talking about. This is my life. Moving on from that, I told you guys I had some Billy Joe Travis tidbits. Listening to the Jeff Jarrett podcast this week, he mentioned the name Billy Joe Travis. Now,
Yes.
it was in a kind of a cool thing where he was bashing Dave Meltzer, because he said that back in the Memphis territory days, Meltzer used to always have incorrect matches, like results from shows. And then Jeff Jarrett was like, I mean, not that it's that important to know whether Billy Joe Travis won or lost. And I was like, yeah! And so I recorded it. You know it's going to be on at the end of this show. But I actually found a newspaper clipping of Billy Joe Travis on eBay last night. And that's coming in the mail. $8
Wow.
later.
I was going to ask how much that cost.
Was
Wow.
it for
Who-
his arrest or his death? What was the clip about?
It was him gushing blood in a cage match. So I will show it next
Wow,
week.
slow news day.
Great.
Who would have thought to put that on eBay? That's a topic for flips and bumps. That is not something you put on eBay.
Sasha definitely has
apparently it is.
an alert. Like whenever something comes up on eBay that says Billy Joe Travis, he gets notified via text message or email notification.
Yeah, we'll call that the Moe Jerkery effect. But I'll let you figure that one out. The other thing that I found
What a
interesting.
name! That's so perfect.
The other thing that I found out about TNA was the first pay-per-view that they did, June 19th, 2002, my 20th birthday. I should have debuted that day. I'm going to talk to Jarrett next time I see him. But the ring broke right before they went live because they had
Wow.
a dark match with like a 500-pound guy, bounced off the ropes, broke the ring. So they had to switch things around before their pay-per-view even started. And it was like just starting because it broke dark match, like right before they were about to tape.
Jeez.
And so they had to like switch segments. And underneath the ring are the, what are those guys' names? Are they the DOA guys?
Oh yeah, Skull and 8-Ball.
Do you know their real name? I always forget their real names, but they were like,
Don Harris.
yeah, the Harris twins.
Yes.
They were like under the ring with wrenches, like trying to fix the ring. The show, the biggest show in TNA is like about to start. And then I didn't even know, but today's episode of the Jeff Jarrett podcast was all about this guy, Jay Houseman, who like swindled the Jarrett family out of money.
Oh, I don't
Like
know
in
this.
the first couple months of TNA almost died because like this guy gave them incorrect numbers and they thought they had way more money than they did. And this guy also was working for the WWE at the same time. Like unbelievable story by
Wow, who is
like
this guy?
of
That's
TNA.
crazy.
And that guy ended up in jail, but not for any of the TNA stuff. And then the other weird thing that happened this week, there was a WWE writer who was fired, who went on a podcast and talked about how during the interview they asked, she's in this interview for a WWE writing job. She has no clue anything. She's never watched wrestling. They ask her about it. She's like, yeah, I don't know anything about wrestling. They hire her. She gets fired. Then she's on this podcast telling the story, and she's like, yeah, I think they have a guy named Bobby Ashley or something. She doesn't even know currently. So I wanted to ask you, Peewee, do the writers need to know wrestling to write wrestling? It's an interesting
That's a good question.
because you have like writers in, let's say, comedy. Jay Leno, Jimmy Fallon, all these people have Seth Meyers. They all have writers who write for their voice. So it's basically like,
Yeah, that's the problem. Is you're going to get a bunch of content that doesn't fit. It's just going to be a bunch of random stuff that doesn't fit with the pre-existing stories that you have already told.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, right. It all lines up.
I mean, they shaved Otis for God's sakes.
Right. No, I mean, I feel you need it. I don't know that you definitely do, considering the amount of money that they're making by doing it the way that they're doing. So I don't want to say they definitely don't need to do it the way that they're doing. But I feel they do. I think they would definitely benefit if they made a change and had guys who actually care writing about it.
shout out to our dear friend Bishop, who says it's unbelievable how smart people were in 1993. I just found it interesting. I don't think I have an opinion either way because the WWE is just a mess as it is. Like, it's dead. It's over. There's no way they're coming back from anything. It's being sold. Vince is going to die. It's over. But just an interesting tidbit. So let's move on. Let's talk about this week in television. Peewee, you didn't see the China documentary, right?
I did. I watched it a couple days ago.
Awesome. This segment has been renamed 2 weeks ago in television. Because we should have talked about this last week. We didn't talk about it. So there's China documentary on Vice, 2-hour-long documentary, drew higher ratings than Impact did that week.
Really?
What a good documentary as far as like the idea of it. But what a sad...
Which documentary are you talking about? The original one or the one that we actually saw?
I just like the way that they incorporated what they were trying to do with what actually happened. I thought it was like a clever way to do it, but all the stuff inside was so scuzzy.
Oh man, it was dirty,
sad, and so basically what they were doing was going through her career as China from the beginning, while at the same time showing the last year of her life, which they obviously didn't know was going to be the last year of her life, but they were filming a documentary about like the comeback of China.
Yeah, what was supposed to be the big comeback of her career.
Because she had been
passed away in the middle of filming it.
Yeah, she had been teaching English in Japan for 3 years. Her work visa was expiring, so she came back to America and basically was here for a year and ended up dying. I'm going to be a little all over the place with this one, but because I just kind of scribbled down interesting things that I thought. How about her making more money with one Playboy issue than in 5 years of the WWE?
Yeah, that was surprising. It was surprising and not surprising, like just knowing how they treated the girls back then and how little that they were valued versus how many eyes they did actually bring to the product. It was a shocking stat. It's crazy.
I'm glad it was a Vice documentary and not an A&E or whatever, because like they addressed like things that they probably wouldn't have, like the entire.
Oh sure.
Like
it didn't look like they pulled any punches.
No, and like the Stephanie and Triple H.
Yeah.
The sex
I was just gonna
tape.
say the Xbox sex tape made the cut.
Yes.
What is on the cutting room floor of this documentary? If you're gonna include
what
that?
was too much that they couldn't show, right?
Right.
I had no clue that she wrestled in New Japan. Did you know?
I did know that. Yeah.
It
was great. It was huge back then.
Really?
Yeah. It was on the verge of, I don't know all the details of it, but it was on the verge of like defining women as viable competitors for men in like 2000. When did it happen? Like 2003? It was very early.
I don't know.
Compared to when this stuff actually like goes down and people start opening up their minds to intergender matches. And she fought Inoki, right?
She fought for, like, she worked for Inoki. I know the one that they showed was against Masahiro Chono, where they like
That's what
beat
I'm
the
thinking of.
shit out of
Chono,
each other.
yes.
Yeah.
That was
Unbelievable.
incredible.
Yeah, it was crazy stuff. Like I don't see how she wasn't after that. I don't see how she was a bigger deal within Japanese wrestling unless the politics got to it and some people just didn't like what she was doing. Because it was such a big deal that China was wrestling at the time, Masahiro Chono, in what I believe was the main event of the show. It was a huge deal at the time.
And I was never a fan of like her mic skills back in the day. But that promo that she cut after that match, and the way that New Japan does it, like a press conference, I mean, everything was perfect for that. Like her just being like, "Yeah, you didn't think you would get that or whatever." Like, whatever. It was a solid promo. I'd never seen any of that stuff. I had no clue she was in New Japan. I had heard before that she lived in Japan the last couple years of her life, but I didn't know that she was wrestling out there or anything. How about this weird ass thing? Where they're filming the documentary and decide to go to the WWE headquarters just randomly.
Real quick, just like that producer, the director, and that other fucking weirdo, like just the scummiest people I've ever seen. Like,
right, they had a great idea to do a China documentary.
Yeah.
But you have literally the worst people in charge of putting together the China documentary.
They're just exploiting her any which way they can. They're walking her up to Comic-Con just to, make $5 or whatever. And like feeding an addict drugs is not a good idea.
So they have the manager who eventually she fires him, and he's like, she's like, "You're fired as my manager," and he's like, "I'm not your manager, I'm your soulmate," or something.
Yeah,
that guy was like number one creep. Number two creep was, I mean, either of the other guys, they would have been a great like heel stable. You had the one guy who was like producer or director who was a heroin addict who was just trying to do drugs with China.
Yes.
Then you had the other guy who was like a weird hippie who seemed like he was in love with China.
Yeah, hippie guy.
Yeah, they were doing like yoga and making videos on the beach and stuff like that. And then you had the guy who was basically in charge and lying, talking to Dr. Drew, like about the drugs that she's on, like what drugs she's taking. And he's like, "Oh yeah, don't tell him about that. He'll be upset about that." He's the goddamn doctor. Like,
right.
I mean, easier said than done, obviously, in situations like that. But
they're all addicts. Yeah, that's the
they're
problem.
all addicts.
Addicts are dealing with addicts, and that's what happens when they get together.
And then obviously we learn about how crazy of a life she had, like her dad not being happy with her dad putting college loans in her name, not being happy that she didn't go work for the FBI. And then, so she didn't have any relationship with him, didn't have a relationship with her mom. Then they try reuniting, and then that's all weird. I didn't get a good feeling from her mom either. She was also...
They tried to exploit that too. Like they haven't seen each other in like 30 years or something, and like
slimy, man.
Yeah, very very scummy people. And it's weird how they were able to like take that footage from these scummy shitheads and like kind of like expose it in a different documentary like 20 years later. I
didn't think about that. Imagine how bad that documentary would have been.
God.
I could imagine production wise if it did come out, and how much of what I would imagine based on the characters that they were portrayed as in this documentary, a laughing stock that actual documentary would have been had everything not happened that did happen.
Yeah, the director's cut of that piece of shit.
Yeah, right.
God.
It would have been a mess.
And then like
also the biggest question at the end of the and I think it's a layup, but the biggest question that I think they left at the end of the documentary was, should China be in the WWE Hall of Fame? She hasn't gone in since, right? Like
no, she did. Yeah, she did.
Oh, she did.
They waited.
Okay.
I mean, after she died, they put her in, and then people were like, "Great, Like you did this again. You did this with a bunch of other people. You wait till they die.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think she went in 2019 or something like that.
Oh, let's see. I'm way behind. Okay, my bad.
But I mean, they even talked to Triple H during in that documentary about putting her in, and he was like, "Oh, well, if you Google China, what comes up?" And we can't have her in basically because of the.
You got to kick out half the goddamn
that
Hall of
wasn't
Famers.
That wasn't in this documentary. That was in the Austin podcast where he interviewed Triple H. And Austin just put him on the hot seat.
Yeah, they showed it.
Oh, did they? Okay,
I haven't watched it.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just like, man, there's so much better. And exactly, like, take everybody out of the Hall of Fame. There's nobody left. Wrestling is covered in slime, like.
Yes, got a thick layer.
And so, obviously, the last couple of years of her life, English teacher, becoming a Mormon, all that kind of stuff. Even the stuff with her ashes, her mom asking the guy to do stuff, and then he took half the ashes and put on a show with like Coolio was in attendance. Like, I just didn't understand how slimy. Like, she was just constantly surrounded by slime her entire life, and that's really sad.
I wish she would have. I think they said this in the documentary. I wish she would have gotten the recognition for herself while she was alive. I wish she could have realized the impact that she had. I mean, I'll also even say this: like when she was alive, I didn't have a ton of. It's not respect, but I didn't understand the impact that China had on wrestling. That's a good word. Until you look back on it and really look at what she did and what she stood for, she was monumental in the wrestling of late '90s, early 2000s. And I mean, everybody just up until 2015, she was just a joke in wrestling, right?
I mean,
so it's just a shame that we only realize it after she's passed.
Yeah, I agree with you. I am 100%. It's not like I was a huge China fan my entire life, but
right, that's what I'm saying.
You kind of see the sadness, and then like the last interview that they show with her, just like sitting on the floor and crying and asking questions like, "Am I really that bad of a person?" You could tell she was just in a horrible space. And then they end it with the scumbag who hasn't been able to talk to her in a couple days because she's not responding because she's dead. He decides to bring a film crew in.
Of course he does.
To like go find her, knowing. I mean, he had to know, allegedly, what was going on. And then like one of the guys even said like he was kind of bragging that he had this like film footage of him finding her dead. Like that is
another weird part that it's obviously wasn't talked about, but that clip specifically stood out to me. Like at that point, they'd been interacting with China at the end of the day she passed. By the time she passed, they'd been interacting with her and recording her for, 6 months, a year, a long time, right?
I don't.
I'm just confirming it wasn't like a couple weeks. It was.
Yeah.
They'd been a part of her life
months.
for a while,
Yeah,
right?
it was
months. When they crack the door to her hotel room, they crack it and say, "Hey, are you here? Hello, China, are you here?" After knowing her and now I don't know China on a personal level, but every interaction that I've seen with her, at least most of them, when you know China as a person and a friend, if you're that close to her, you don't call her China, right? Her name is Joni. Like at that point, like I said, I don't know the relationship, but it did strike me weird considering everybody else was calling her Joni, but these guys who'd been in her life for 6 months, 4 months, whatever it was, a long time, we're still calling her China that deep into it. Like it was just a very weird.
Yeah, and
the whole thing is weird.
Yeah.
The whole goddamn thing was weird.
Yeah.
What I got out of it was that I didn't know, besides like the New Japan stuff, I didn't know that she had like wanted to be an actor. And I mean, you watch, she was playing the piano and playing the cello and stuff. She's like a talented artist, and just seemed to be around the worst people of all time. And at the same time, like, didn't have close relationships with anyone. Like, they only interviewed her sister, I think. I mean, like, it seemed like her sister was the only one that she kind of kept in touch with. And even that, I think they even mentioned, like, she was mad at her for a while and stuff like that. So, I don't know. It's just sad all the way around. China, wrestler, attraction, or both? As far as, like, women's wrestler, women's attraction in wrestling?
That's a good question. I feel like I'd have to go back and watch more China stuff and actually pay attention to it. I feel like back in the day, I had zero interest in China and wouldn't pay attention to the TV at all when she was on it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I remember her giving forearms. Her forearms looked okay, but that's as far as a wrestler goes. Like I can't rate her because I don't really remember everything she did other than a forearm and a low blow. Attraction, absolutely.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
She was a great valet or bodyguard or whatever. Back in those days, dude, like the women's wrestling is not what it is today. Like it was all TNA and all Barbie doll girls back in the day. So she couldn't really have a good match with anybody because she couldn't work with the men. She couldn't work with the women because they didn't know how to work. So like she was kind of stuck, right? I feel like we didn't really know what she was capable of because Vince really didn't like her and didn't give her a chance to do much.
It's kind of interesting when you look back. She did have, I mean, many different iterations of her. She had like...
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. She definitely did and you don't realize it.
Yeah, like DX pre-boob job where she was just like jacked bodyguard, like we're saying. Then DX with boob job where she is still kind of bodyguard, but then they're trying to like...
Still not talking at all.
Yeah,
like,
but
she was a robot.
Trying to make her more female looking, apparently.
Yeah.
Then there's like post DX when she becomes a woman's wrestler, and then at the same time like going the Jeff Jarrett stuff, like feuding with men and women.
Is that when she came out with the gun?
Yeah, and she would shoot like the fireworks.
Her entrance for like a year was coming out with a giant gun and shooting it into the crowd.
Bazooka, yeah.
And then she had that run like with Eddie Guerrero where she was
Mamacita,
like Mamacita, the love interest or whatever. And then after that, obviously leaving, doing the Playboy and doing the adult stuff. And,
hell of a run.
Yeah. And sad as it often does in wrestling. I got two things more for television, and I'm just going to push them back because we don't need to talk about them. We're running late, and I got to play the game that we played a couple weeks ago, and I'm bringing it back this week. I don't know what it's called. I guess that's the name of it. So today, I'm asking both of you guys, gentlemen, we're starting a company today, and one of these guys has to be your on-air talent in whichever way you choose, as a wrestler, as an announcer, as a commissioner, whatever you guys want, but it's modern day versions of these three people. You're starting the company. You have to pick one of these guys. Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, or Lex Luger.
Wow.
Okay.
Gotta start a company with one of those three gentlemen. Where are we headed? Who wants to start it out? I know you guys are chomping at the bit here.
I honestly, I didn't know Lex Luger was still alive. I feel like you just ruined a Dead or Alive segment right there.
Yeah, it's Hogan. I think there's too much politics that you might have to deal with, and he could be a headache, depending on what role he was in. Bret, my instinct with Bret was put him behind the commentary desk and let him do commentary, but I don't like Bret. I don't like his personality. I don't know that he has a personality.
That's why I threw him in there, because I think if you like Bret Hart, this one's easy for you. But knowing this podcast, I was like, yeah, I'm going to throw Bret in there and see what these guys do.
But at the same time, what is Lex Luger going to bring to the table currently?
Drugs, allegedly.
Ico Pro.
I'm going to go with Bret, and this is what he's going to do. This is what he's going to do for me, okay? Bret is going to be the heel announcer that nobody likes. He knows a lot about wrestling. He knows the history. Have him be Larry Zbyszko. That's fine. Just go do that. Okay. I don't want nothing to do with Hogan, and I certainly don't want nothing to do with Lex Luger.
It's a safe pick, and you're putting him in a strategic location. I like it.
Strategically placed with accessible ramps for his wheelchair and all those things.
See, now I think you go with Lex Luger. He's an on-air talent. He's not. I think Luger is bound to a wheelchair, much like the other one half of the other people that we have as options. So he's not a wrestler, but let's put him in a suit. Let's have him be he'll be the money guy of my promotion on air. He's not the actual money guy. I was going to
say, this isn't very well-financed promotion.
No. This is just the character. He's not even, his name isn't even Lex Luger on TV. His name is like...
Plex Luger.
Yeah, perfect. And he's nothing but a character that moves stories along.
Oh, Lex Luger, and he's got a luge gimmick, like Olympic luger.
He doesn't come to the ring in a wheelchair. He comes to the ring in a luge.
To disguise the wheelchair. I love it. It's
right,
like
Sash,
a cardboard luge around his body.
Do you have to pick one
Sash,
of
you
these?
got to pick.
Oh, I don't have to pick. I'll pick Hogan, and we're going. My promotion is in the deep south, so
You'll
put
fit
two
right
and
in.
two together. Yeah,
Top babyface.
yeah, top babyface, champion / commissioner / commentary, like the good old days of the NWO. Next up, we got best evil maneuver. We got the back rake. We got eye poke, or the lost stepping on the face. You got to see the picture to get it. All right.
Yeah, it's like imagine a guy on his back, and you walk around to his head, and it's a double stomp to his face, but it's almost like a rake of the eyes with the bottom of your shoes.
Now, the first two...
Also, your eye poke picture of these three stooges is fantastic.
Yeah.
The back rake picture is great.
Yeah, that's what comes up when you type in back rake.
Okay, so hold on. I have that exact same back scratcher that looks like a garden rake.
Okay, so that's what you're going with?
My wife bought it for me last Christmas, and it's amazing.
I do want to say
Is it called
this.
a back rake?
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
hilarious.
I do want to say this. My original third one was not that stomping on the face one. I just couldn't find a picture of the guy using the top rope and like scraping the eyes on the top rope.
Sure. Yeah.
So if you want to use that one in there, I'll toss that in.
What is the question? Just best illegal maneuver?
Best like evil maneuver, like bad guy,
Evil.
best heel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the eye poke is way, way, way overdone on the indies. I mean, every cutoff to start a match on at least one match every show is referee has his back turned slightly and it's a quick thumb to the eye. I'm over the thumb to the eye. Ref can only be tricked so many times. The back rake isn't an evil move. I love me some back rake.
Is that what you're going with?
Yeah, give me the back rake. We in the backyard. Have we talked about the multi-man back rake?
I don't know. I remember
What?
it, but I don't know that we've talked about it.
Oh, Tony, you don't remember this? We would do like one guy would set up the back rake on another guy. He'd work him down, turn him around, put his fingernails on his shoulders, and like look at the people. I'm also spreading this out and slowing this down way, way slower than anybody would do it in the backyard. But if done perfectly, this is how they do it. They'd put their fingers on their shoulder, look at the people, and just before they're about to scrape the fingers down the back, they'd get stopped by somebody behind him. They'd put their hands on his shoulders.
Just a
they would
domino.
look at the people. Yes. And eventually, so there'd be like 6 guys who do this all in a line, all waiting to do a back rake. Finally, the guy in back does it. And then that causes the guy in front of him to feel the pain. And while he does that, he brings his hands down and scraping the back of the guy in front of him. And it goes on and on until finally the guy at the front gets back raked. Great spot.
Wow.
That was just like the Joey Ryan human centipede, where it's like
Yes.
6 guys all grabbing each other's dongs, and he flips all of them.
Yes. there you go.
Whatever happened to Joey Ryan? What about you, producer Tony? What you got?
I'm gonna give a shout out to the low blow. I feel like that would have been a good one here, but I'm gonna go with the back rake myself. The eye poke, yeah, you're right, Peewee. It's just it's too often leaned on, and the boot to the face that doesn't get used enough. That should be a more commonly
I agree.
heel move.
I think the problem is it's too hard to see from a spectator's point of view as far as what the guy is actually doing to the babyface.
Sure.
That's my guess as to why it's not used too much.
I love the drama and the reaction you get from the face when he's taking the back rake. It's always
absolutely.
good. It's always good.
Absolutely.
I would have gone with the eye scrape on the top rope, just because it's not used enough. Same reason why I like that the stepping on the face too. Back rake is a classic, though. It's the green mist of this set of evil maneuvers. Also, I did not want to Google low blow. And last question of the week I got for you. I have dumbest wrestling move. We have the 619 by Rey Mysterio, We have The Worm by Scotty Too Hottie, not to be confused with Otis, which I don't know what his is called. And the dumbest move possibly of all time, the Sharpshooter. What do you guys got?
What's the question? The best dumb move or the worst dumb move?
Just the dumbest wrestling move of all time. I mean,
Okay.
of those three, obviously.
I mean, at least for the pictures that you've chosen, you chose the best of all the sharpshooters.
That's true.
Tony, you have any thoughts here?
I loved the Worm. I feel like it was a great spot for him. And I'm just gonna shit on Rey Mysterio. I mean, he's like 5'2" and like 65 pounds, and that little whip around the ropes, that doesn't really hurt. That's a bad move. I'm gonna pick that one.
I think I'm gonna go. I agree. I like the Worm, not because it's high impact, obviously, but any move that you can define as a finish and get it over and get people to believe that this very, very weak move, the People's Elbow is another example of this, is enough to finish a guy and put him down. If you can do that, God bless you. I think the Worm is not even a contender in this question. Then we get to the Sharpshooter versus the 619. I mean, I agree. The 619 doesn't look super impactful. It's impressive. It's the swinging your ropes, swinging your legs through the ropes like that. It's not the easiest thing to do.
Not when you barely have legs.
I'll agree. I'll say the 619. I'm not putting over the Sharpshooter at all. I don't want to get kicked off this podcast, but the Sharpshooter would at least bring me some sort of entertainment in the form of, if Brett put the Sharpshooter on somebody that I wanted to destroy Brett, I would at least get worried for half a second that he was going to give up and the match would be over. And then luckily, almost every time they'd reverse it and beat Brett into the mat.
Yeah, unfortunately, Bret Hart doesn't have the leg strength to make the Sharpshooter seem impressive. However, Natty Neidhart certainly does. So I'm going to go with the 619 as well.
Wow, clean sweep.
Clean sweep. See you later, Rey Mysterio. You've been eliminated. That's it. That's the show this week. Next week, we talk Ric Flair's butterfly robe. We talk Andre the Giant and the Giant Machines tag team. More on Jimmy Del Rey. And musical guest Billy Ocean. And what will Sasha buy of Billy Joe Travis this week? I'll have you guys know I found a $400 USWA calendar on eBay. Find out if I make an offer on that one. Anyway, what's making me bitter this week is Jungle Boy's loss to Kenny Omega. Not because I care about it. I really don't. Our dear friend Santino came over to my house on Saturday to watch this because he wanted to riot when Jungle Boy won. He didn't win. So that makes me sad that I was not able to go looting with our dear friend Santino. Producer Tony, what's making you bitter this week?
Rain. I know the past 2 months we had no rain in this area in parts unknown, and it's fucking rained consistently for the past week and a half, and it's oh my god. First of all, the grass was dead, and now the grass is growing, and I gotta cut it, and my lawnmower doesn't really work, so I dropped it off for service, and the guy that brought it out looked like Steve Blackman. I couldn't believe it. He's fixing lawnmowers in parts unknown, boys.
You know, I think frozen rain is a glacier. I don't think that's true, but
definitely
not true.
I was trying. I was trying, guys. You still want to go see me at the open mic? Anyway, Peewee, what's making you bitter this week?
This was a big week for Peewee. Last Friday. What was the date? It was June 25th. I probably don't have to tell you guys this. Everybody should know this. June 25th was a milestone in the saga known as the Fast and Furious series.
Ugh.
Fast 9 came out in theaters on Friday. Fast 9 is currently not plexing. I'm very bitter that I have not seen Fast 9. Tony, I'll be talking to you right after this podcast.
Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/bittermarks. New episodes drop every Friday morning at bittermarks.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at bittermarks, and email us, bittermarks@gmail.com. Last but not least, buy our shirts at prowrestlingtees.com/bittermarkscom. That's COM as in Glacier's middle name. Peewee, Producer Tony, and all the smooth babies in the YouTube chat, except Bishop. See you next week.
Take care. Check me out on Saturday on Turtle Talk.
Bye.